Alright guys, what's up? Welcome to another On Point. As usual, I have to preface this with the fact that it's been a while since I've done any streaming, so a lot has happened since the last time that I have been live. But before I forget, there is the Stream Me situation, which I'm really disappointed in because, you know, it was an alternate platform where you could basically do just about anything you want. They were pretty tolerant of, you know, all the things that YouTube isn't, let's just say. I think the only limitation was really, you know, excessive violence or inciting violence, which who does that anyway, honestly. But yeah, you know, it was one of those things where I built up a pretty decent following on there. I didn't stream consistently enough to really be able to retain as many followers as I had, which is unfortunate. But, you know, that's my fault, not the website's. The website I thought was pretty nice. I was getting used to using it, kind of enjoying using it, and it's gone. Just up and gone. No warning, no nothing. Just disappeared. I've seen a couple of reasons out there why that may have been. I'm not really sure which is trustworthy or not. Hey, Necro, what's up, man? If you want to pop in at some point on the stream, go feel free, and I'll bring you on. But yeah, it's just disappointing because there's not many alternatives out there. I have considered a few other ones. I'm not really sure what to try. There's still DLive, which, you know, it's not as lax as Stream Me, but I may dual stream to that and Twitch when I do gaming type stuff because it seems to be more suited for that. Okay, well, perhaps next time. We'll schedule something at some point and be able to stick to it when we'll both show up. But yeah, you know, if anybody knows of any alternate out there that might be useful, I guess I'm willing to at least give it a look before signing up. Somebody had mentioned Mixer, but it didn't really look like anything that I would be too interested in. I hate accounts where you have to use an already current account to sign up with it. So it was like it was asking me to use my email address, like my Outlook or something like that. I hate having to connect things from other sites to sign up for an account on an entirely different site, if that makes sense. There's just something weird and invasive about it. And as much as I don't like having millions of different accounts across a variety of websites, I also don't like doing that whole click here to connect thing. So maybe there's something else. I'll have to look at the background of Restream, actually, because it shows you all of the different streaming services that you can use to connect with. So maybe there will be something on there. I mean, my streams aren't too edgy for the most part. Sometimes we say things that might not be acceptable in other places, but for the most part, they're usually pretty relaxed, except for on the rare occasions when we get treated to a wonderful shouting match. I wasn't really going to talk about that anymore, just because it seemed to be giving the person some sort of weird satisfaction. But if you remember the last On Point, where there was a whole bunch of shouting for 5 hours, you know who I'm talking about. And I haven't looked at his feed, but I got word that he was ranting about the stream behind a block. And I haven't looked in like over a week probably, because at that point, to me, it's just like the best way to deal with the situation is to not acknowledge the person. Just kind of, you know, ignore them and pretend they don't exist, because they're not speaking directly to you, which is, you know, it's a cowardly move. So if you want to wait and talk big until you're already gone, I really don't see the point. Please send outlines. Oh, you know what? I left the stream starting soon shit right up on the fucking screen because I'm not used to using it. But there we go. It's gone now. I added, you know, I made things a little bit more lively on the screen. I added like the donation ticker and whatnot. just to have things a little bit more lively and active. I probably need to come up with a better look altogether for the stream, but production value has obviously never been my thing. We'll give it a try eventually and see what's up. But yeah, Stream Me gone, away, and not much we can do about it, but it will be missed. I guess you have to get over it, right? Like dust in the wind or something of that nature. But anyway, I have a couple of things planned. I will probably run out of topics before the allotted time that I have set, so I figured that I'll talk about all the things that I have set first, and then if the stream is still too short, I'd like to go at least an hour and a half, so I'll go back and look through it more of those relationship.text posts on Twitter, because those seem to be well received, and I had fun reading them, so that's what we'll do. I don't know. Hey, of course, if anybody maybe has some suggestions or anything like that, maybe we can do calls at some point. But I finally set up a Discord server just for the stream. What happened was I had another server made and it was completely empty. Sorry for the boring story here, but it was obnoxious because Discord has the overlay kit, because you can see my little icon on the screen. But for some reason, when I try to use the overlay kit, I go back to the website to get a code. It just says it can't connect to my Discord, so I'm stuck on the one server with the icons. So what I did was I just transferred servers, and now the old server that I wasn't really using publicly is now the public one. I'll send out a link at some point, and I'll probably have to try to remember to put them in the description, and that way people can join. But first things first. Earlier, this is just a little tidbit from my day. There was a strange call on the landline. Does anybody still have those anymore? And it started, I let it go because it's not a number that I knew. And the message started to say something about how my social security number was being suspended, because that's totally a thing that can happen, right? I mean, it's your identity, and they can suspend it if they want to. So I knew right away when I heard that it was one of those scam calls. So I picked up. I decided to have a little fun with it. I picked up. And, you listen to the recording and it just says press 1 to speak to a representative or whatever. Press 1. And then there's another little recording that says, please wait on the line for a Social Security representative, which I already know this is bullshit because the number is not from them. And a woman gets on the line. And the first thing I think to do, she just says hello. The first thing I think to do is just, okay, talk in a funny accent. So I was like, I just said, hello, what is the problem, or something along those lines. And the first thing she says, she gets really mad. Maybe she knew the accent was fake. I don't know. And it's like, who the fuck are you? And so I was like, who the fuck are you? And then she said something like, don't fucking call here again, which made literally no sense because, as I just explained, the phone call was to my line, not the opposite way around. So I was just like, no, you don't call here again, you fucking cunt. And I hung up. And I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity. So I go log into my Google Voice account. I pull up the number on the caller ID, type it in, try to call back. I was going to record a video, and then if it had worked, I would have posted it up on the channel. But tried to call it back, and it turned out to be a fake number, or it's not necessarily fake because they're obviously using it, but it's like a front. It's illegitimate. You call it back, and it basically says, oh, you can't connect to this number. So that was unfortunate. I was a little disappointed. If only I had thought I need to quickly run to the bedroom and start recording this, it would have been able to... Are you sure it wasn't SPCC? Yeah, it was a woman. And they had a recording at first, so it was one of those things where you have to listen to the recording and then press a number to speak to somebody. But yeah, complete bullshit. I took a massive sip of water and I forgot to mute, I know some people complained about that last time for some reason, because sometimes you have some picky folks. So if it's really that annoying, I will try to remember to mute. But when I yap for too long, my voice goes and starts to kick the bucket and my throat dries out. So I have to stay hydrated, people. Do you want the stream or do you not want the stream? Make up your minds. But next time, if I get one of those calls, I'm definitely going to try to record it and mess with them a little bit and then post up a video, and that'll be pretty fun. But you gotta wait. It's by chance at this point. I don't know if they'll try again. Not really sure how the whole operation works. It's actually weird because it's not the first time that I've had to deal with these kind of scams. It was strange because it seemed like at one point somehow my number had just like gotten out there to all the scammers, and for a week straight I was receiving all of these strange calls and they just wouldn't stop. They were saying a bunch of weird stuff, like they had court documents and all this strange shit, and at one point they even contacted my sisters, which was extremely strange because they don't live with me. They have completely separate phone numbers. They're married, they have kids, they have families of their own, and they like threatened my sister on a message saying something like they had let's say incriminating photos and videos of her, which is completely not accurate at all. She doesn't even have a PC or like webcam or any of that kind of stuff, so that's obviously not the case. But yeah, it was strange. The advice I gave was, just ignore them. Don't call, don't talk to them or anything like that. And after a little while, it went away. I didn't want to change the phone number. I mean, that was definitely an option, but I hate doing that. I get used to my phone numbers, and then it's like I'm kind of attached to it, and I don't want to change it. I think it's a combination of just, being adverse to change and like controlling the small things that I can, and getting used to something to the point where it's like it's second nature to say it if somebody asks you, what your number is or whatever. It's kind of like when you're at the end of the year and then January 1st rolls around, and the first time you have to like sign a receipt or write a check or something like that, you go and you write, the previous year by accident because at that point it had just become second nature to do so. But anyway, that was the Social Security scam. Unfortunately, I don't have any recordings for you guys, but maybe next time that'll be a lot of fun. The next thing on the list is something that I've been dealing with for years, and I mean anybody that plays video games or purchases retro games in any capacity will recognize these type of things. Let me pull up the screen here because we are ready to do so. Just got to make sure the correct browser is being captured because I have a few. Okay, here we go. All right, so sometimes I follow or search up specific Super Nintendo titles that I don't have complete copies for, because on the off chance that I can get like the box and maybe whatever paper came with it at the time, like posters or maps or whatever. Yes, I'm a stickler for complete copies. I actually own Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, but sometimes I'm just curious like what they go for. And now to be completely fair, the $48 that they're asking here, even though this is Canadian, it's not actually a ripoff. I mean, it's a pretty fair price, and the box was in decent condition save for the sticker, but you'll note that the sticker on the box says $5. Now think about this. If you're running a business and say you go to a flea market and you say, hey, look, there's a copy of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. It's $5. I run an eBay store, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flip that because it's a decent opportunity to make a little profit, And fair enough. My issue is when you leave the sticker on the box so other people know what you paid, and then you're here asking for $50. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do something like that because I know what you paid for it. I know how much you raised the price on it, and you expect me to look at that and be perfectly cool with it. Now, there were other copies available for like $40 and stuff, and actually nicer condition. So this was a little strange to me. Maybe it's because it was Canada or whatever. Maybe it's a little bit more uncommon there. I don't know. But the eBay price gougers are especially notorious when it comes to retro games. Now, some people blame like YouTubers for, making those videos where it's like, oh, check out these awesome Super Nintendo or NES gems, or, like Angry Video Game Nerd. Sometimes games that completely suck will be featured on an Angry Video Game Nerd episode, and then they would skyrocket in price after people watch the episode because for some reason they're inspired to buy that game just because they saw it on an episode of a show that covers shitty games. And so the price of completely garbage video games gets raised to astronomical prices. Mystic Quest sucks. I had it when I was a kid. I had it too. I actually still have my copy. I know people didn't really like it because of its simplicity, but to me it had a certain charm to it. I basically, at the point that I got Mystic Quest, I had already played and completed Final Fantasy II, which is actually 4, as everybody probably knows by now. So it was obviously dumbing it down a little bit, going from that to this, but I still managed to enjoy it a little bit, and the soundtrack is really good. I will give it that. The soundtrack is awesome. Now, you can say the game is simple. You can say it's more geared towards children, which I guess it was kind of like baby's first RPG. And you'd be right. But I don't think that necessarily makes it shit. It's just, that was the intent of the game. Can't you just buy the box and manual by itself? I could. And, I might actually do that at some point. But I just typed in the search of the game itself, and this is one of the things that came up, and it caught my eye. And it just kind of blows my mind that you would leave the price tag on there. It's like, dude, it looks like you tried to scrape some of the sticker off. Maybe you couldn't get it all the way off, but at least cover that shit with a black marker or something, because I don't want to do that. So I decided I'm gonna play with this a little bit. So I went, there was as you can see, there's a make offer. And I went, and I was a dick, and I offered $5, and I noted I don't pay more than sticker price. So as soon as I did that, it was rejected. And I think that just means that he has it set to a certain price where it's like, I haven't done this myself, so I don't know if it's a feature, but I feel like you can set it so that you only receive offers that meet within the range of offers you're willing to accept, and anything else will be like auto rejected. So I think that's what happened here. And obviously I can't blame people for setting that up that way, just because it saves you a lot of trouble. There are a lot of people that will try to ask for unreasonable prices. And look, obviously that's exactly what I did here. Nobody's going to sell this for $5 if they picked it up for $5. But I just thought it was entertaining. And it's one of those things that's really common on eBay where they jack up the prices. I'm not saying $5 would have been, reasonable for him to sell it for, but just with what I've seen all over eBay with this kind of stuff, it kind of drives me insane. And some of the prices that people are willing to pay are just crazy. A couple of weeks ago, I saw it was like the Nintendo World Championship carts, and I know those are extremely rare. I'm aware of the stories behind them and whatnot, but somebody was asking $32,000, and at that point, it's just like, man, if I had $32,000, there are a variety of things that I would do before I'd ever buy a Nintendo cart, which is basically just like, hey guys, look how big my retro cock is, because it's nothing but a status symbol at that point. Are you ever really going to play the Nintendo World Championship cart? For some reason, I feel like you're probably not. And even if you wanted to, couldn't you just get a ROM of it or something? I feel like you could definitely get a ROM. FF2 was my intro to JRPGs. For me, it was Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy on the NES, and then I think Dragon Quest 3, which is one of my favorites to this day. My brother was heavy into collecting a while back and scored a lot of rare games at the local Goodwill. Yeah, and you know, back in the day, there was a chance for you to do that. Now Goodwill goes and, I don't know if it's all of them, but it seems like a decent amount of them. They'll go and they'll just put shit on eBay because they know that people are crazy and they're gonna bid like wackos because you just have to get that copy. You have to score that game. And part of me is like, I can't blame you in the sense that while it's fun to just, you know, load up a ROM and go at it, there's something to be said for owning the original product and, you know, having the physical copy, having the manual and the posters and everything that went with it. I'll always like doing that. I mean, I still feel that way about modern games. Whenever I can, I avoid digital with modern stuff. The only thing that is kind of unfortunate is that now, I'm going to get into this topic a little bit later, but Steam is sort of at this weird point where their rules are a little bit strange. Like some games will be uncensored and other ones will be censored or completely banned from the store. So I don't really know what their deal is. We'll take a look at something from that later. But yeah, the eBay thing, the retro gaming scene has kind of gotten out of control, and I especially don't like the so-called community surrounding it. Like, you've got YouTubers like Pat the NES Punk, who's just the most smug, full of himself bastard that I've ever seen. And if you've ever seen his podcast, the little douchey guy that he has with him, I think his name is Ian or something, that guy is just social justice incarnate and completely obnoxious. All of his opinions are just fucking shit. Retro gaming is fun. It's the culture surrounding it that's cancer. Yeah, I agree. You know, I have to say, I almost can't think of a so-called culture around like a hobby I like where it's not complete shit. And I think at some point it was a little bit better, but now that you have all the people that are trying to do like we need social justice in X hobby kind of shit, it's gotten even worse. And with gaming, it's gotten worse because now all the people that used to make fun of people that played games, you know, now they're part of the hobby because they'll play the casual shit or they'll play the AAA titles. And they like to pretend that they've always been fans of the shit, which, you know, I'm not saying people can't change their hobbies and get into things that they used to think were shit. That's fine. That's completely fine. But when you do that, when you change from something you used to make fun of into liking it, and then you sit there and act like you're going to control how everybody else perceives the hobby, that is absurd. That is completely insane to me. Because those are the same type of people that will talk about bullshit like gatekeeping when they're the ones that come in and do that. Obviously, back in the day, you had the nerdy types that did that kind of thing, but that was because they were completely isolated from basically every other part of society. Like, it wasn't cool to be a nerd when I was a kid, okay? It was, you know, you were looked at like lower than scum. There's like the stereotype of, you know, you got the pocket protector and the suspenders and the shit. Like, I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but everybody that, or at least the majority of people that I spoke to back then, they're like, oh, you play games like Final Fantasy? That's gay. RPGs are gay. And if they did like a video game, it was something like Madden, which, to be fair, I actually did like the old school sports games like the Super Nintendo Madden or NHL 94, for example. Those were fun. I don't really like the realistic sports games of today. I guess it's because I'm not really a sports guy, but the video games back then were all good. Well, you know, not all good, but you get what I mean. RetroPie for the win. Tecmo Bowl. Yeah, there was also a basketball game that I liked. I think it was Tecmo Basketball or something like that. Come on now, they didn't say gay, they said lame-o. Well, I remember some people saying gay. A lot of people saying gay back then. Because it was all right to say, you know. But now, Now they have those PSAs where it's like, when you say something's gay, do you know what you really say? I've heard that on the radio quite a few times. I'm like, yeah, bitch, I know what I'm saying. That's why I said it. It's fucking gay. Get it right. Magic vs. Bird, NBA Jam. Yep, I remember all of these. It's kind of like a throwback here in the chat. Last sports game I was into was Tiger Woods 2005. What was that for? Probably like PS2 or something? I'm trying to remember what era that was. I think it was PlayStation 2 and GameCube and shit. I had this, around that time, I had I don't want to say like a falling out, but I took like a break from gaming. I didn't play anything except like my retro stuff from time to time, like Super Nintendo and Nintendo. But anything modern, I just didn't play. Like after PlayStation, I missed most of the PS2 era, and I got into it pretty late. I actually want to say I think I bought a PlayStation 2 in like 2005. And then I got Game Boy Advance late in its life, and I picked up, all of the good titles for that I could. And they were still available. I remember buying Final Fantasy IV Advance brand new at a local game store that we used to have. Unfortunately, it shut down, but when I was growing up, that was a really cool store because it was one of the only places where you could get import titles. Like we had KB, we had Walmart, but they just sold, brand new shit from America, obviously. But this store, they had everything from like NES and Atari to import games for like PS1. So I was able to get my hands on a couple of the Japanese Dragon Ball Z games, which now looking at them, you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? But back then, that was like the only connection that you had to those things, or like further into the series. Like if you were a Dragon Ball Z fan, you were sitting on your ass waiting for new episodes as they replayed the same 52 episodes over and over again on TV. And I think they did that for like 3 years. So when I had the chance to play games where they had, characters from later on in the series, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I think that kind of clouded my judgment of the games. The only one I really couldn't get into that I always thought was complete garbage was Final Bout. That game, there was no saving it, no matter how many cool characters were in it. I was like, okay, this is complete garbage. I can't do it. I think the ones that I played the most were Ultimate Battle 22 and the one that they call Legends. I don't think that's the actual title. I think it's like part of it, but it's not the whole title. Those were fun. I miss arcades. Oh, arcades. I haven't thought about those in a long time, but I used to have one here in the tiny excuse for a mall that there is in this town, and it was a lot of fun. They had like Street Fighter 2, they had Tekken, they had the Ninja Turtles, they had X-Men, the Capcom X-Men game, or no, the Konami X-Men game. I think there were some other Capcom ones besides fucking Street Fighter, but it's been so long that it kind of slipped my mind, unfortunately. The memories aren't as vivid as they used to be. Getting old, the brain's starting to rot a little bit. Bleach Heat the Soul games for the PSP were like that for me. The games were much further than the anime. Yeah, I mean, that was like the only connection to things like that. I remember I also got some of the soundtrack albums from Japan, and I was like, this is fucking sweet. And that was kind of like how I started listening to Japanese music. And then, because what I would do was, I'd listen to those albums over and over, and I'd be like, okay, who are these singers? Who are these artists? And like, maybe what else do they do? And so I would search up them on Napster, if anybody remembers when that was a thing. And, you'd find all these other songs uploaded by them. So it kind of just branched out from there, where you'd pick an artist that sang a song you like on one of these soundtracks, you'd look them up, and then you'd have access to all these other things that they did. And then from there you can like branch out to, other artists that they did collaboratives with and shit like that. I learned a lot of that stuff just through, random internet searches. Ew, Napster. Napster was freaking great back when it first started, okay? There was a point where later on where it started to suck ass, but I liked it back in the day. There was a little window where it was good. Maybe it's just like nostalgia clouding me, and if I saw it now, I'd be like, what was I thinking? But I think there was a small little window of opportunity there where it was a special thing. And then like Metallica fucked everything up, and because it wasn't enough to have their giant mansion with the fucking pool and shit. They had to take down Napster. I mean, look, fair enough. It's their intellectual property and whatnot, but cringe. Scratch is a boomer. Likewise was what? I'm so confused by that. Oh, LimeWire. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I need a translator over here. Anybody got a translator? Yeah, I remember LimeWire, but I also remember that being an easy way to get malware. So it wasn't just Metallica, but they spearheaded it. Yeah, I mean, they're the ones that like popularized it. So that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. Do you remember any of the other artists that were in on that shit? It's been a long time since I've even thought about that. So, all right. Well, anyway, I think that was a decent trip down memory lane. And yeah, if you're looking for retro shit on eBay, buyer beware, I guess. At this point, I'm not really interested in spending tons of money on that kind of stuff. What do we have next on the agenda? I want to see. Okay, this I didn't put in the title because I was running out of space for topics, but I always see these weird takes. Share what I sent you. All right, one sec, Necro. Let me see what you got here. Oh wait, that's the completely wrong server. What the hell am I doing? What did you send me? And where did you send it? I guess that would be the question. Is it Twitter? Let's see. All right, well. I see. Oh. Yeah, it's just a DM. Okay, I gotcha. Oh, you mean all of these photos here? Let me see what I can do. Because I don't know how it's going to open up. Oh, it's going to open up here. All right, let me copy paste into this browser. So here we have some really cool Dragon Quest stuff. Are those Dragon Quest headphones? That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I think I've seen those before. And then the other ones were... Oh, the retro shit. Right, let me see. Can't zoom in enough, so I don't know if this is how well this is showing up. Unfortunately, not that well, but it's all the Super Famicom games. I feel like the one that you sent me last time was bigger than this. But yeah, I have... I thought I had one of those games in the background there. I have one of those Dragon Ball Z ones, and I also have Chrono Trigger and Romancing Saga 3, the Japanese versions of. Why? I don't know. Just because I couldn't resist. They were actually really reasonable, so that's the story. That was from the con me and Necro went to. Yeah, that's really cool. Are they Necro's outlines? Yeah, I'm actually kind of really, really fucking disappointed because I learned about it like a week ago, so I had absolutely no way. Well, there was a very, very slim chance that I would have been able to pull it off, but we'll get to that. So there's a convention where one of my favorite Japanese artists was going to be performing for the first time in the U.S., and I was like, oh shit, I got to figure this out. Turns out that the convention was in Kansas, which is like a 19-hour drive, which I would have done, but the money that I had, where I was like, okay, maybe I can work this out, and I can afford the ticket because it's only like $60. That's not bad, because it wasn't just a ticket for the show; it was a ticket for the whole convention for the whole weekend, and I would have been able to score that no problem, but the gas money would have been like, I think about $250 if my calculations were correct. And then what ended up happening was I was trying to get my friend to go with me, and there was a chance that he would have been able to go, but he had to find somebody to watch his child, which, you know, fair enough. You can't just run off when you got a kid. But I was ready to go by myself if need be. And then I got hit with some expenses that I didn't expect, and that just drained my cash, and their opportunity lost. Very, very disappointed. And it's happening tonight at like 9 or something like that. And then tomorrow night as well. She's playing 2 nights, and I'm just fucking down in the dumps over it. I was like, this man, you know, I feel like it's a really stupid thing to be disappointed over, but there's just nothing that is ever, there's not much that gets me hyped up to do. So when something comes along, you know, it's nice to get out and be like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And then it gets shoved in my face and I get fucking screwed over. So I'm like, God damn you, why have you forsaken me? Why? But yeah, you know, shit happens and you got to power through it, right? But it would have been a nice mood booster, just because there's been so many things going on lately that have just kind of, you know, you go through one of those cycles where you feel like you're already down and everything's just fucking kicking you. Been in one of those lately, so it would have been really cool to, you know, see something fun and expand my horizons a little bit. I kind of like road trips, so that would have been, you know, no problem. I mean, I do have some fucking back problems, so it's hard to sit for long periods of time and shit sometimes, but the car that I got is actually a little nicer than my old car, so I'm able to sit a little bit longer in there. Plus, you know, you got rest stops and shit like that. So I was fully prepared to suffer for this. I was ready. I would have crawled over shards of glass, damn it. But, you know, it was not meant to be. You know, I'm sure if this show goes well, though, there will be other opportunities. So I'm just trying to think, okay. If not now, maybe later. There will be other chances, right? So hang in there. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's, you know, it's just life. The ups and downs of living. What can you do, right? But anyway, I was moving on to another topic. So let's do that. Maybe I'll share later the, I thought it would have been cool if maybe somebody was going to stream the convention. Like maybe somebody would stream the show and we could catch it on here, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'll try to look later on if there are any streams out, but it didn't seem like it. It only seemed like one person had streamed about 15 minutes of the convention on Twitch, and that was 3 hours ago. Where was I? All right. So the ACLU put out this post, and it's not a new argument. I've seen it plenty of times. It says the arguments against trans women participating in sports are based in the same stereotypes that are used to keep cis women off the playing field. Sex discrimination in sports is wrong, period. Now, I always find these types of arguments and reasoning to be extremely flawed because, first of all, does anybody remember the days of, like, making the team where you had to try out, and if you weren't good enough or you weren't as good as the next guy and there was only a limited amount of spaces, you didn't make the team? So this idea that people are somehow entitled to be able to play or to be able to take part in a team is just, it's flat out wrong in the first place. That's never been a thing. You make it or you don't because you have the skills or you don't. Now, obviously, there have been situations where it's like, you know, the kid's family is in good with the school or the coach or whatever, and they get the boost that maybe they're not supposed to. But just because there are flaws in a system, it doesn't mean that you throw away the entire system, right? I mean, I think we're basically at the point where we've done everything we can to mitigate instances of so-called discrimination. So it kind of can't get any better than this. And the people that want to keep pushing this idea that, oh, the trans women or the trans men, they need to be able to participate. Why? Why do they need to be able to? They decided that they were going to go through a life-transforming, well, for lack of a better term, transformation, right? So there are consequences to that. And maybe one of those consequences is that you don't get to do some of the things that you wanted to do because you made this choice. Nobody's forcing you to, you know, start taking hormones and then be like, oh, well, now I'm a woman and I want to be on a woman's team. It doesn't work that way because you have And I know nobody likes to fucking admit this anymore, but you have built-in advantages just by extension of the way you were born. Okay? You were born a man, so you grew up as a man. Maybe you went through puberty as a man. That means you have all of the physical advantages that a man typically has. You're going to crush each and every woman. It's getting to the point where it's like, well, why even have gender separation at all if that's going to be the case? Of course, I still think there needs to be. There definitely does. Because even though you can have some exceptions where, say, like a woman could take down a dude in wrestling or something like that, that kind of exception only goes to prove the rule that, you know, on average, it's not going to work that way. And that's all right. It's stupid. I mean, you can't... Listen, the more that you pretend that these kind of differences don't exist, the more apparent you're going to make them. You're going to have literally the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. And I just think all of these things now that they're trying to push for are just delusional. With, like, for example, the whole military ban thing, where it's like, we need trans people in the military. Well, I don't know why we need that. I don't think anybody would ever fear fucking going to war. I'm sorry. I know you're not supposed to laugh, but come on. Come on. Is this clown world? Where am I? Did I just wake up one day in a different universe where everything has gone fucking batshit crazy? Because I don't understand how anybody's taken that seriously. And the idea, that's another thing where it's like the idea that somebody is entitled to serve in the military. What are you talking about? They've always had guidelines where if you don't meet them, you can't do it. You can't sign up. So how come it's only discrimination when it's this gender bullshit? How come it's not discrimination when they don't let the guy with the flat feet into the military? Or the guy with mental illness? Or, you know, the guy with diabetes? Why? Why is that not discrimination? How come that's... It seems like, and this is what bothers me, it seems like life is only allowed to be unfair for certain types of people. And that to me is bullshit, because then you're not looking for equality. You're just looking for these groups to prop up and give special treatment because you have this perception that they're not, you know, they're not getting as much as they deserve or something, which is really weird, because the same people that talk about fucking entitlement are often the ones that are telling you these people are entitled. The Bone Zone $5 says, "Speak your speech, homie." Thank you. Thank you for the donation. Appreciated. Yeah, you know, it's just, I get so tired of it. I'd been trying to, like, break away from topics like this, but they keep shoving it down your throat over and over and over. And it's like there's no escape everywhere you go. This is where we're at. Guy with mental illness, you mean trans? Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You know, I was thinking something like maybe bipolar or severe depression or anxiety or some shit like that, but yeah, that too. But the thing is now it's like, oh, well, that's not a mental illness anymore, because somehow it's completely natural, and this blows my mind. It's somehow completely natural to be born as something, but yet want to be or feel like something entirely different. Now, maybe there's someone out there that sees some sort of logic in that, but I just can't find it. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how that makes even the slightest bit of sense. It's the blue deck players. Man, that blue mana is just, whew, big problem. Big problem. They control the flow of mana. Man, I haven't played Magic the Gathering since I was like, oh man, probably 15 or 16 or something like that. I think I actually still have cards around somewhere, my old decks. I wasn't a blue player, though. I'll tell you that. I think I liked red and black. Not necessarily in the same deck, but just the individual cards that were in those sets. I had one of those really annoying goblin sacrifice decks where you, like, grenade people. You sacrifice the goblin creature and then it deals like X amount of damage or whatever. They change the rules of the game as they see fit. Maybe that's why I don't play anymore. Blue mana is for the weak. There we go. But yeah, I can't get behind this. I don't think it's like either everybody is entitled to the same things or not. I'm tired of this whole we're fighting for equality, but really we're asking for special treatment bullshit. It's that whole, what does they call it? Equality of outcome or something. It's one of the most delusional things you can do. And it's actually kind of getting scary, because I even saw a headline regarding airlines where they were like, we're pushing for a more diverse, set of pilots, and we hope to have more of, X group of type of person as represented. It's like, wait a sec, hold the fucking phone, dial it back. It's time to stop. Do you realize what you're saying? Because what they're basically saying is that the skill might not be the determining factor. And for something as dangerous as being a pilot, potentially dangerous, if I'm going to get up there in the sky thousands of feet in a fucking metal box, I want the best person controlling that thing. I don't want some quota in the cockpit. Again, it's possible to not always have the best person for the job, even in the current system, but the whole diversity quota thing just makes that entirely worse. That was something that I saw, and I was like, it was mind-blowing to me. I knew these people were sick in the head, but when you see something like that, it just takes it to a whole other level. And man, it's like you don't even want to you don't even want to take the risk anymore. I'm not going to trust some company, with my life, if that's the way they're going to select people. They need to have blind pilots to show they aren't ableist. Yeah, get some braille controls and shit on there. Maybe wait till VR can be like implanted directly into your brain so you don't even need eyes to see it or something. Excuse me, I had to get some water here. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, look, you have to understand that equality is basically a myth, okay? The best you can do, the best you can ever do, is have equal rights, right? And we already have that. So I'm not saying that, there can never be any flaws in a system with equal rights, because there can. People are always going to still have their biases that you can't stamp out with a law, but that's like the best way to, mitigate those type of things. And now it's gotten to the point of just pushing people forward because of their identity instead of anything else. I mean, equality is just not a thing in nature. Everybody's born differently. And that should actually be okay, because it requires different people in the world to do different types of things. Nobody is all the same. I get that sometimes people use that to, look down on each other or whatever, bully each other. But fuck it. That's just life. You have to learn to deal with that. You have to learn to stick up for yourself and, fight back for yourself. You can't expect everybody to play nanny for you and, push you ahead just because of who you are or what you were born as. And you also need to accept that for as good as you are at something, the possibility that there's somebody better is always out there. And it's not a bad thing per se. I mean, maybe sometimes it'll mean you don't get exactly what you want, but how many times in life do you really get exactly what you want? It's like completely unpredictable for the most part. You can work at something all your life and still not necessarily succeed at it. And it's just kind of getting to the point where it seems like we all are losing the ability to accept that as a reality by kind of pretending that that's not reality when it is. We need more pilots without arms, and then black trans disabled pilots. Wow, we're getting crazy here. I think we're going to have a lot more crashes if that's what's going on. There's already that problem with the new model of airplane from Boeing or whatever, where there was like 2 crashes the same exact way and within like 3 months or something like that. So, I mean, that's another thing where it's like you have all these older models that are still in the air flying, and then the new shit is the stuff that's failing. It's like, what are you guys doing? I thought technology was so much better now, and it's still failing. It's like everybody wants to make things as cheap as possible. I don't know if they're doing that with airplanes, but you never know. What else do we have here? I think that kind of goes above and beyond what I intended to get into with that. Oh, this I thought was comical because it's another one of these stupid groups. Update. About 24 SPLC employees sent a letter to management saying that internal allegations of mistreatment, sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and racism threaten the moral authority of this organization and our integrity along with it. Now this is just beautiful. And you know how trigger happy these people are with attributing those kind of accusations and labels to others. And it's like, oh, you guys, it's just more of that projection. You're guilty, so you assume everybody else is guilty. And as a way to kind of feel superior, you call out everybody else and label everybody else so that you can be the authority while everybody else must repent. Now, it's completely possible that these accusations are, baseless and not true. But I can't feel sorry for them because this is the environment that they've cultivated where these accusations are life-ruining. It's the end. You have to believe them. They said they were victims, so you need to believe them. This happened. Definitely happened. No arguments about it, okay? That's the way it is. I don't know what you're going to do. You have to, throw yourself upon the altar of social justice and say 50 intersectionalities, right? I don't know. But I find it hilarious. That was one of the best things I've seen in a long time. Again, you don't know if it's accurate, but it's great when you see them get accused of the shit that they are always calling out on others. Oh, and you know what? I fucking forgot to turn on top chat, so I apologize if I missed anybody's messages. It's stupid YouTube. Because I'm not used to looking at the YouTube chat directly, because I was getting used to dual streaming on streaming and YouTube, and so what I would do is use the Restream chat room, which, is entirely different because it shows them both together in one, so I didn't have to keep pulling up different screens. But as a result, I forgot to switch over to live chat. But we're all good now. I don't think I missed anything, really. Maybe a few. Well, just know that now I will see everything. Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that. It's just one of those things that brightens your day. You should pull up my pedantic tweet. I believe... I think I commented on... Well, I left an image on it, I should say. Let me try to find it. If you reacted to it, well, I guess I'll have to... There you are. Now, is it the one where... Wait, am I going to get in trouble with scrolling down your feed? Maybe you should DM it to me. Because I don't want... I don't know if you have anything too, quote-unquote, lewd to show on the screen on your feed. I don't want to get fucked. Let me... I know what I can do. Browser off for a moment. Just in case. Just in case. Gotta be careful. I'm scrolling. When the hell did you make this tweet? Yeah, I'm not opposed. It's just that I'm fucking terrible at scheduling anything. But we'll talk about it for sure. Let me... here we go. Found your tweet. That was quite the journey, but we're here. All right. So we have the pedantic romantic, which is such a terrible username. Where does this person... Where did they even come up with this? But anyway, this is the guy that makes no effort to sound like a woman but wants to be called a woman, right? I'm not mistaken that, right? Because I remember clicking on one of the videos and I was like, oh, that's a guy, but yet on Twitter people are calling this person she. All right, so they say of the fewer than 600 people Pewds follows on Twitter, among them are Paul Joseph Watson, Stephen Molyneux, and Lauren, not just Lauren Southern, but Lauren fucking Southern. Glad I finally know her middle name, you know. 3 blatant white nationalists, but sure, he's wholly innocent in this. Heart goes out to all my Islamic followers right now, which is actually funny because I truly question how much of a heart they have for you. Lauren Southern, the same woman who, mind you, had a popular video pushing the Great Replacement conspiracy the shooter subscribed to, and who tried to kill... This is complete bullshit, right? Like, that's absolute bullshit. That refugee boat thing never happened the way that they said it did. I'm fairly certain that never happened. I mean, wouldn't she be in jail for, like, attempted murder? Come on. This is ridiculous. Fucking is a European middle name. It's Dutch. There we go. So Necro says he is wholly innocent, you dimwit. He has a reach of subscribers far greater than yours will ever be, and he's never condoned violence. I'm also pretty sure he didn't say that goblins look like Jews either. They did do that, didn't they, with the whole goblin? Was it Goblin Slayer that caused them to say that, or Harry Potter, or both, for all I know? Oh yeah, that was my reply. Who replied to that? I just love everyone calling out PR and this anti-Semitism makes it absolutely golden. It's fucking... Yeah, this guy is an idiot. I don't even know... You know what really bothers me? It's like all of these internet personalities that are completely outside of the political sphere. I mean, sure, maybe they insert their politics into anime and stuff like that, but that's not a political thing, no matter how much they want it to be. And they always think that we need to give a fuck about their opinions on this stuff. I mean, that's obviously a thing with a lot of online personalities. I'm sure you could probably even say the whole, the same of me, because I sit here and share opinions on the internet. But, you know, thing is, I don't think that anybody is obligated to listen to me. I just kind of put it out there. But these people, they act like some sort of authority figure, and that they are, you know, they know what's what. They're going to tell you how to feel. They're going to tell you what's right. Should bring up that journal, Andrew, who wrote the PewDiePie article. You know, I was going to completely avoid the whole topic of this thing because it's just, it's completely aggravating. Maybe at a later date, but I'm tired of the whole... Every time something happens, this is pretty much what I have to say on it. Every time something like this happens, the reaction is always the same. Nobody actually cares about the situation. They care about how they can utilize it to further whatever little agenda it is that they want to push, okay? That's the thing that drives me nuts, and I can't stand it because they want to pretend that they're so moral and so caring and so full of empathy, and yet all they ever do is bitch on Twitter and try to get people they don't like banned as a result of something completely unrelated. It's the same thing every time. Every time. And without fail. And I can only react to it so many times. It's and it doesn't change. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Same thing all the damn time. I was pretty much like, I mean, aside from the few posts that I made today, I was pretty much off of social media all day. I'm like, done with this. It's all I see all over the fucking feed. Can't deal with it anymore. And then I had gone for like a long-ass walk with my friend, and I end up ranting about the whole fucking thing, because I'm like, this is all I seen all day, all last night, and I don't want to post about it because it's infuriating, but they leave you with all these pent-up feelings about it because when you see it beaten over your head like 24/7, you can't help but formulate opinions on it. And the thing that really bothers me is the same people that want to act like, you know, their villains, their boogeymen are responsible and for these type of things. They will never take responsibility for themselves. They will never take responsibility for the ideas they push that lead to the type of reactions. And I'm not saying that justifies it. Like, you should still try your best to keep a level head about you, no matter what happens out there in the world. But it would be absurd to ignore the fact that the things that they push are actually what helps make people radical. Because they just keep pushing the same narrative over and over and over. And the wrong people are going to get tired of it. And then you're going to have crazy shit happening like this. And then rather than, you know, take a step back and say, hey, maybe we're wrong, okay? All they do is use it to justify themselves further. And I think they want to. I think that's what they want. I think that they don't care. What they really want is more crazy shit to happen so they have more ammunition for their politics. They just want to be justified in whatever it is they believe. And at some point, I don't want to give that to them. Have you seen that phone game called Another Eden that has Frog from Chrono Trigger in it? Yeah, I saw they have a very, very similar character that looks basically exactly like Frog from Chrono Trigger, because it's like the same, I think it's the same writer that made Chrono Trigger worked on Another Eden. And from what I heard, the phone game is getting a Switch port, which I hope means that they're going to like completely overhaul it for Switch, because I'd really love to play it in a, you know, a more console friendly version. I'm not really for mobile games at all because I hate playing on small screens. Isn't it literally, Frog? You know, I haven't looked into it enough. Maybe it is. It might be. I just thought like, oh, they have a similar character, because I think there's minor differences in his appearance. And uses a different weapon. I think he uses like a katana instead of the knightly sword. It's what Shooter wanted, more chaos in the online culture war, which is that's kind of like one of the things. Oh man, I guess we're going to talk about it a little bit anyway. It's kind of one of the things that bothered me about it, and I just put out the post that I put out regarding like the whole, you know, save your people ideology. Like if that's the thing you're really going for, why would you do something that basically ensures that you have no chance in taking part of it? Like you can't, the only thing you're going to do is either end up dead or rotting in jail. So wouldn't you want to, you know, lead by example and have a family and instill the values that you believe in, instead of just going off and doing something that's never going to be respected by anybody with half a brain? The only people that you're encouraging are people that already think that that's the solution. Everybody else is just going to be like, oh shit, this is cancer. We need to stay as far away as we can. And it sucks. It sucks that people feel the need to apologize or feel guilty for things that they haven't personally done. Spooky Weeb Trash for future waifu money. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I bet you right now some journalist is looking up all the Spyro Dragon games for radicalization. Is Spyro a dead series? No, because they came out with that remaster recently, right? So they might end up planning on a sequel. Wonder what's going to happen now. Anyone that has the prosperity of European peoples in mind would or should know that this was a bad move, to say the least. Yeah, exactly. And it's not even because I think that, you know, just because somebody does something crazy on behalf of a fucking like belief system, that means that everybody that thinks about fixing those things is part of it or agrees with it. But that's what the opposite side uses as ammunition as to why that belief system is wholly flawed, and it's not fair. I mean, look, to be fair, I see a lot of that from a variety of different type of people, but that doesn't make it right. Never thought Spyro would be associated with this. It's literally an E-rated game. That's the most insane thing. It's almost like, I mean, it's almost like it was a complete joke. When I was reading that, I thought it was a fucking parody. Like, it was so stereotypical in some of the messages that I almost felt like it was too stereotypical to be real. You know, unfortunately, in the world that we're living in these days, just because something is stereotypical, that doesn't disqualify it from being real or, you know, make it a parody. But it certainly seemed the way that seemed like the stereotype of what people who oppose that belief think of them and the way they write about them. There's a new Spyro RPG coming out under the Skylanders. Oh, that's what happened to Spyro. That's right. He got associated with like the Skylander stuff for a while. Yeah, I forgot completely about that because I never really followed the whole Skylanders thing. I just something I saw in passing and never really. We're going all over the place with this, aren't we? We're Spyro the Dragon to the Ethno State and whatnot. What a world. Never in my wildest dreams thought that this is where we would be at. But here we are. And you know, sometimes you just want to like disconnect from all this shit because it is absolute poison for your mind. I mean, I've always been the type of person that's just like never really connected with many people, and I think all of this stuff has made me a less, I hate to use this term, but less tolerant and less accepting person. I've always had very strong opinions and very strong convictions, and I don't agree with a lot of things that people say or do. I can separate myself with it, and I can be friends with people that don't agree with me 100%, obviously, because if I waited for a friend that agreed with me 100%, I'd be I'd be a loner for the rest of my life. But I never thought twice about a lot of the things that I'm seeing now, and it gets inside your head, and it kind of forces you to form an opinion on it and think about things in a different way. And I'm not really sure it's one of those situations where it's for the better. I honestly feel like a lot of the things that I know now, I wish I could unknow. That's how bad it is. The best you can do is just kind of speak your speech, as they say. But it gets in the way of a lot of things. It's a major time sink. I like doing these streams, but when it gets to getting into the same topics over and over and like kind of repeating myself about them, it gets tiresome. Definitely tiresome. So that's why I thought I'd do a little bit different type of topics, like I had the scam call thing and the retro eBay rant and that stuff. It's a little bit more lighthearted. It's away from the political stuff. Speak your speech until they won't let you. Yeah. I actually saw somebody, oh man, what was it? I'll have to try to find it real quick. Okay, so it was something that happened on Twitter, and somebody said like the guy should be prosecuted for hate speech, and I just sat there and kind of stared at the message for a moment, because I was like, how does somebody get to the point where they even think that is an acceptable reaction? It was just, and I know I shouldn't be surprised, but I still see it, and then I'm like, wow. my only okay, I found it. My only reaction was, this is a real person, because I was just like, what the fuck, man? How do you get there? I'm not gonna read this shit. If you guys want, I'll copy it for you, and you can check it out yourselves and read it at your own discretion to see exactly what he's reacting to. But basically, it was a message from a member of the Australian Senate, I don't know why I said it like that he disagreed with, right? So he says, this senator should be prosecuted for hate speech or at least be suspended from his party. Unbelievable. Prosecuted for hate speech, as though saying something that you don't like is a crime. That should never be a crime, because once you, and this is the part that it really surprises me that they never come to this conclusion, that when you run out of speech, when you take away speech, violence is all that's left. That's it. Because people will only keep quiet for so long. You create a situation where it bubbles and it festers, and it's going to come out. And it's going to come out in a way that you don't want it to. And that's where we're at. Black Pill on YouTube has a good video about the movie Office Space that has some stark truth about how white men deal with issues like this called nice until we're not. A lot of parallels can be drawn between what he says about the movie and our current situation. Interesting. I will have to, well, maybe I'll have to check it out when I'm when I'm feeling up to it. All right, let me close out of this. Okay, here's another stupid one before we get into maybe a little bit more more lighthearted shit again. Good old CNN. The traditional Western concept of family can oppress women, entrench dogma, and exclude LGBTQ people, writes journalist Miss Afropolitan. So right off the bat, you know the writer is an idiot. What the hell is an Afropolitan? I don't even want to know. Never mind. Just forget about it. We'll just pretend that doesn't exist. Now, this kind of narrative drives me crazy. Just like all the others, really. Because it's another one of those things where you're just going to ignore the natural order of things because it doesn't fall in line with certain people you want to protect. Okay? Obviously, families are how you got here. Families are one of the, like the fundamentals of society. That's how you build, strong and competent individuals. It's how you keep humanity going. So it's like they never acknowledge that the only reason they're here is due to these concepts. And they always want to go because like, oh, well, this outlier feels bad, so we have to completely dismantle this. No, fuck you. Sometimes you're going to feel bad. Sometimes you're not going to fit in. Sometimes you're going to be the outcast, and you just have to deal with it. I am perfectly fine with people making their own individual choice not to have a family if that's what they don't want to do, or, whatever. But when you start to destroy everybody else's concept of it just because a few people might feel bad about it at some point, you're an idiot. And you're destroying everything that was built. You're destroying the very society that allowed you, that afforded you the ability to bitch about this stuff. To sit there on your cushy job, typing away this fucking drivel on your computer. They don't realize that without all this, who knows where they would be. Probably not as nice of a place as the US or the other, Western nations, which are, I guess quite honestly, falling apart due to the foundations being guilted into thinking that it's all wrong just because some small groups feel bad about it. I don't know. So let's see. Let's check the chat here. Stop having families go and sleep around. We are families. We're nothing without families. And you know what? That's another interesting thing is that they're like, oh, well, families come in all different shapes. And it's like, all right, well, just because that may be the case, right? Just because there might be different ways that a family can, that a family unit can exist, that doesn't mean that there's no normal, grouping. Obviously, it's a mother, it's a father, it's the children. And the reason for that is why? Because that's how people reproduce, okay? If you can't accept that, how are you even part of Earth? Like, how are you even part of humanity? And why would that make you feel bad? And how is it oppressive? Oh, I feel pressured to do this. Well, guess what? Fucking society, life, people, they're going to pressure you into doing and feeling a variety of different ways. You're so weak, you're going to listen to all of them? Is that where we're at now? Let's see. In other articles, they'll claim that whites and whites alone benefit from having families. That's disturbing, because that's definitely not the case. Hold up. Families are discriminatory to those who don't have a family. Western equals code for white. Yeah, I mean, I think I think that's a fair assessment at this point because they always act like it's everybody except the white dudes that are oppressed or like harmed by this. So can now mean does possibility and certainty are quite distinct. Yeah, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, they don't want to see the difference. They're like, oh, because you know what? That's another thing when it comes to the whole hate speech thing, or like you can't say certain things because it might offend. That's where it's impossible for you to draw a line, because I could say anything and any number of you right now could get pissed off by it or offended, right? So what? That means I'm not allowed to say it on the off chance that someone somewhere might be offended? That is the most absurd thing that I've ever heard in my whole entire life. And I've heard a lot of bullshit. I hate articles like this. Absolutely have no problem saying that I despise them. Because it pushes such a moronic worldview. And I don't understand how someone looks at this and then thinks, oh yeah, that's a reasonable take. That totally makes sense. No, it doesn't. The funny thing is that I was always somebody that was kind of like, yeah, you know, I don't really feel like I kind of fit in with what the norm in society is or whatever. But it never really occurred to me to think, oh yeah, well, since that's the case, I might as well destroy it for everybody else. Or because of that, I'm somehow oppressed. It's like, no, you just kind of have to live the best that you can within what you have. But now it's like, I guess in a way, it's also made me see the value of certain traditions. It's not like I was anti-tradition, but it's just like sometimes you think about certain things and you're like, yeah, it's not really for me. It's like it's the thing that a lot of people do, but it's not really something that I'm feeling or that I'm interested in. And I think that's fine enough. But this whole tear it down, burn it to the ground because I don't fit in and I demand that I do, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I guess it's kind of put me at odds in a sense with myself, because while there are obviously things in society that I don't agree with, it's like these guys took what I used to think and took it to a level beyond insanity that I never would have imagined possible. Traditions tend to be time tested. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's like, okay, just because something is old doesn't mean it's inherently good, but it doesn't mean it's inherently bad either. And usually there is some sort of reason that there's been like this prevailing idea, right? And that at least is worth examining to see if it's, you know, if the reason for that is because it allows society to function. And I mean, so with something as like important as family, I think that's beyond obvious. But I really do find the whole, oh, you know, don't have children, don't do this, don't form a family unit kind of thing disturbing. And it's always in so-called privileged countries, right? I mean, you're never going to go to like the third world and see articles about, oh, you guys should stop having kids now, right? Because if you look, I've looked at the birth rate chart. I don't remember where the US falls on the list, but it's not high up on the list. And all of the other countries that are like way up there, those are never the ones that people are encouraging not to reproduce. And that to me, it's like, okay, now there's a major flaw in your narrative, because you're acting like, oh, it's about overpopulation, it's about the environment. Well, then you need to address these countries with the massively higher birth rates if that's the case. And again, this is like one of those things where it's something that would never have occurred to me before all of this. And now it's like you can't escape it. You see it everywhere. And they like to call it, you know, conspiracy. They like to say you're crazy. But it's right out in the open. Right out in the open. Mainstream articles like this. I don't even know why we give a fuck about what some blogger thinks anyway. All right. What else we got? What else do we got? Maybe we can move on to something. Oh, this was just... I think I saw Necro retweeted this, and I had to just take a moment to look at this. So, I don't know who this is. I guess it's a Twitch chick. Excuse me. Twitch Thot asked for $200K to buy her dream house. Gets $256K. Now, she needs an extra $80,000 for what? I said she would ask for more, and she did. If you give this girl money, you deserve to be broke with a dried dick. Oh, what do we got here? This is what people think is worth throwing $250,000 at? Really? My dream is to buy a house, the last part of the amount. Oh, I'm just... Is this cultural appropriation? Is that what's going on here? My mind is blown that guys will... Does anybody even know who this streamer is? But these guys on Twitch are some of the most pathetic people that I've ever seen in my life. What do you get? Look, I understand to an extent that you support content you like, right? I mean, here we are. I obviously have the option to donate, you know, and fair enough. It's like, yeah, if somebody wants to do it, that's cool. But the way it gets, the level of obsession that it gets to with these women on Twitch is really unhealthy. And I've seen this a lot, where these girls will act a certain way with their fans, right? They know they have this male audience. They know that these guys are obviously attracted to them. You look in the chat and you see an endless fucking surge of compliments, right? And they throw money at them. And a lot of the times, it's like they almost believe that because they give her money, they're somehow going to have a chance. Like, maybe if I just donate enough, she'll slide into my DMs. My friend, that is never going to happen. That is never going to happen. You are a pay pig. You are basically funding someone to just exist. Because most of the ones that get the most donations, they're not even playing video games. They're just like sitting there in front of a camera. Like a statue. Maybe they'll giggle. Maybe they'll get up and bend over in front of the camera or something. And you get like, what, 2 seconds of like, oh, I saw a woman. Have you ever been outside? Have you ever been to the beach? You go for free. It's free. And they want to pay. It hurts. It just hurts. Like, wise up, men. Wise up and rise up. Escape the confines of Reddit and Twitch. Well, see, you make a good point, Mr. Dax, where you say, okay, porn is free, right? Yeah, fair enough. But you know what I think? I think that there's a degree of separation there, right? You know, you watch a video, it's pre-made, you don't get to interact with the person. And I think what happens here is, you know, that degree of separation gets removed and they see what they perceive to be a beautiful woman, which in most of these cases, I'm just like, really? Her? And then they think, hey, I give this woman money. She does something I want. Or she says my name. Or she giggles. She gets up and does some jumping jacks. There's like this weird aspect of control that they kind of seem to get off on. You know, maybe I'm overanalyzing, but I can't think of any other reason for them to do this. Yeah, it's like a digital girlfriend. It's like you don't have to do any of the groundwork of getting to really know somebody. I mean, sure, they'll ask their questions in chat, or they'll be like, oh, you look so beautiful. But they don't have to go out. They don't have to improve themselves in any way because they're just a name in a chat room. And they get that little bit of interaction that maybe they're really hungry for. And on some level, I can understand that because, I mean, look, there are times when life gets lonely and you don't have that person around to be there with you or for you or maybe give you the companionship that you're seeking. But this is not the way. This is the way into debt for nothing. At least if you're going to spend money, you take the girl out, you go to a movie, you have a nice meal, a little Olive Garden or something, you get the free breadsticks. What the fuck is this? There's nothing that you get out of this. Why would you want to get to know a girl that's gay? Yeah, man, relationships are totally so fucking 1990s or some shit like that. I don't even know. Why does that happen? But it's like, a lot of them act like, relationships are trash, that's not important, and yet they go through all of these hoops to get the very same type of satisfaction that they would get if they just had a girlfriend. But it is so pathetic. Why not hire a hoe instead? Spooky Weed Tress said she's auctioning off her hand in marriage, $25 and a gift card to Red Lobster. There we go. That's a woman. It's always a woman. Just empty your bank account now. You know what really is mind-blowing? We'll have to take a look at someday, though I'm not sure if we can actually safely do it on YouTube because some of the hashtag is kind of fucked up. But the Findom community, that shit drives me insane. Absolutely insane. Why would you give somebody money, some woman money to exist and talk down to you? That one I can't wrap my head around. I get that it's some weird fetish, but I can't. Like, at least in this one, I think it's stupid, but I can kind of get down under the layers and understand maybe why they do it. But with that one, I'm just, no. Okay, but low-key, who's your favorite Twitch girl? I really don't even watch Twitch streams, to be honest. Like, I was friends with a few girls that, they would stream on Twitch from time to time, but that wasn't the foundation of the friendship. And I've never donated to them. Ever. I just can't do it. And they actually played video games, so there was that too. I don't know any Twitch whores because I'm 26 with a long-term girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, I see all these big names floating around that occasionally get talked about, and I usually have to look into it to see who they are because I don't know. I don't use Twitch that much anymore. I tried streaming over there for a little while, and I had, a little bit of success. Maybe a little bit more than I thought I would, but nothing mind-blowing. I think I only have a little over 100 followers, so it's not like anything crazy. But yeah, Twitch is too stupid for me. There's too many double standards in the rules. They afford a lot of those women a lot more leeway than they do anybody else, and some crazy shit has happened on their streams. And if anybody else did something like that, they get banned. I've heard that there is a rumor going around, and I've never seen any evidence for this, so at this point it's just allegedly, that the Twitch staff are a bunch of, soy men that kind of have a deal with some of these women where, they get a little something to keep them on the air. Maybe a little bit of those Patreon photos, There was a story some years back about this Findom who was auctioning off a cam show with her. Bought it for $200K and then didn't show up. She said she worked very hard to get to this point. Oh, yeah. That's nothing harder than posting about how all men are trash and they need to give you their money. That is the most challenging thing I can think of. But yeah, man, just you gotta stop. I can't imagine being able to get a house out of an audience. I mean, maybe over time, slowly, you save up your funds, but to have it completely funded like that, that's painful to look at. That is painful to look at. Just thinking about the fact that she didn't really even have to do much of anything. Again, I don't even know her username or anything, so I don't know what kind of shit she streams, but it doesn't look very active. Let's just say that. It looks like you just sit there and stare at her. Oh wow, we've actually gone on quite a little while here. Let me see. We're reaching an hour and a half. I only have a few things left, so let's power through. All right. So this I came across. It's about a game. I think it was called like Dragon Star Varnir or something like that. Well, the game's not important. It's a game. It's like an RPG from Idea Factory, and I had heard because of Sony's new stupid censorship guidelines that there's like 1 or 2 scenes that are censored in some way. I think it's where they do that stupid beam of light shit to make it look like, oh, you can't see the woman's body parts or whatever. I don't even know if it's like a nude scene. It could just be a bra or something. And that's how pathetic they've become. But then you have people with attitudes like this. Sorry, I guess you can't see the top tweet, so I'll read it to you. I don't care about the censorship stuff, so I'm still going to get it when the limited edition is announced. Someone says, thank you. As long as the gameplay and characters are fun, that's all what matters. Thank God there are some rational fans in this thread. The rest in the thread, not so much. Now, the reason they're saying that is because a lot of people in the replies were complaining. They were saying, yeah, you know, this game looks really awesome, but I'm not going to support it because there's censorship. You know, we don't want to do that. We don't want to fucking support that. And that's, I agree. I try my hardest, my damnedest, to avoid buying anything that has been censored like that, because I don't want to support the practice. But then you have these fence-riding fruitcakes that will just, oh, it looks good, so it's okay. Consume, consume, consume. Just whatever's thrown at us. They're part of the problem. They're half of the problem in these situations, because they're the type that will just, they'll purchase it. They don't care. They don't think it's a big deal. Now, for me, I think it is important. I think it's completely rational to expect a product to be in its intended form when you purchase it. That's not really a radical take, but apparently, in the great current year of 2019, it is completely irrational. How dare you? How dare you expect that creative minds are allowed to express themselves freely without these idiotic companies stepping in and say, no, you can't do that. No, bad boy. And the thing that really bothers me about it is that you have a rating system already. Video games have a rating system. So it's completely unnecessary to censor any video game because you already have a standard for the age groups that are allowed to play them. Now, and if you're censoring things for adults, it's time for them to just grow the fuck up, flat out. There's no excuse. None. Oh, I feel uncomfortable. Too bad. And you know what? This is on Sony. It's not Idea Factory's fault by any means. Sony is the one that is allowing this, because I was reading a little bit more and they were saying if there is a Steam version of the game, it will be uncensored. So in this case, even though I love my physical copies, I will end up buying the Steam version because I'm going to support the uncensored product, not the bullshit cut one because Sony wants to be a pussy. More like Sony, am I right? I just get fed up with this as well. It's one of those things where it doesn't make any sense. All right, so on to the next. This is related. Oh shit, what went wrong? No, come back. Here we go. I saw this being shared around the other day. What the fuck? Get out of here with that. All right, enough of these ads. Oh, damn videos. How do I stop this? I guess I don't. Yeah, I should have used the blocker, but I guess I don't have that luxury on incognito. Anyway, here we go again, though, with weird censorship standards, right? So Steam allows certain games to have like sexual content in them, and then it seems like this one has been banned. I don't even know what it's about. From what I gathered, it was about college chicks, and you were going to have, obviously, it's a visual novel type thing, and, you know, you'd probably pursue relationships with them, I imagine, right? That's usually what happens here. But let's read what Steam's reason was. Hi, Steam have confirmed now it is the setting. Sadly, they took the radical decision to ban the game outright. This is the part I'm sad about, as a rewrite of this game is possible. Changing the setting would not ruin the game or indeed require too much work. It could probably be completed by the end of March, completely removing the inappropriate setting that could be perceived as depict minors. Who wrote this? It's barely even English. Anyway, I accept their decision. I've asked if the app can be unbanned if we replace the inappropriate content, but I fear they will advise I should create a new game app. Assuming they do, I will post here when the new app is online for people to look forward to playing. It is a lesson learned. I'll probably not make any school/college game, but college age is legal. What are they talking about? And this is the key word here. Perceived as depicting minors, which means now we're at the point where it doesn't actually even have to be a youthful character. It's just like, oh, do they look young? And how are we going to judge that? Interestingly enough, the way that they judge it is usually based on like, oh, how big is the character's breast? Are they too small? That's probably a kid. Which is very strange, because these are the same people that celebrate when, for example, you got games like Mortal Kombat lessening the women's assets and things of that nature, or, you know, other games where they make the female characters look a little bit more manly, right? I don't know. The double standards are just so apparent. Let's see. I heard there was a clause that the Steam version had to be the same as the PS4 version they couldn't sell. Oh, really? Okay, but maybe it's not just about breast size, but I've definitely seen that argument used. I actually posted a screenshot of somebody using that argument. But still, how are you even really going to say that? I mean, what is the difference really between a character that is, say, 17 years old and 18 years old? Like a fictional character, okay? Fictional. Completely not real, just a drawing. What is the difference there? And these chicks look like they fit the standard of, you know, older. So I don't really see their argument. And then it's like, I may not be interested in these type of games whatsoever. It really doesn't appeal to me. You know, it's just not my thing. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist for anybody. And the reason that I, you know, take a stance on it is because, and this is the stupid part, you'll always see people defaulting like, oh, you just don't want your anime tits taken away. It's like, I don't even play the fucking things. But even if I did, that's not an argument. The argument is there's no reason to censor things that are already rated 18 plus. And in this case, it wasn't even the 18 plus version of the game. Why do we expect companies to parent for us? And again, if you're using the argument of adults are expecting this, what is wrong with them? Why are they mentally stunted to the point that they can't realize that sometimes content is going to offend them and it's their job to either power through it or just walk away and say, hey, it's not for me? You know, it's like now just because something doesn't appeal to you, it's not allowed to appeal to anybody. It's got to change. It's got to not exist. There was one more thing. Like, I feel like there was one more thing that I had to say on this topic. Right. So I think it's important that even if you don't like these type of games, I think it's important for you to take the stance that, you know, it shouldn't be censored. It shouldn't be removed, because one day they're going to push the envelope. They're going to push the bar, and the pendulum is going to swing over to something you like. And what excuse are you going to have to, you know, counter that? You didn't care before. You didn't care. You said, hey, it's perfectly okay. I'm just gonna sit there and and let it happen because it doesn't matter. But it does matter. Okay, you can say that this is like the bottom of the barrel to defend because it's quote unquote degenerate or whatever. But I mean, again, I can just choose not to interact with it. Why should a creator be censored? Why should somebody's work be censored? Why do we need pornographic novels on a gaming platform like Steam? I mean, I don't think you need them. But if somebody is old enough to interact with the content, and Steam even asks for your age. You know, I had to type in my age to look at the Chrono Trigger page on Steam. That's how ridiculous they are over there. I mean, look, fantasy is just that. It's not real. You can do all these like weird arguments that somebody's going to be inspired to do something weird by fantasy, but you know what? Those people are outliers. Those people are already crazy, and if it wasn't a video game, they're just going to find something else. They're just going to find something else to blame. It's not the content, it's the individuals that interact with it. And you can use that argument with anything. You could just shift it over to something else. You say, oh, this guy shot someone, he played Call of Duty, therefore Call of Duty, it's gone. It's got to go off. Go off the shelf. Goodbye. I don't know. This stuff doesn't appeal to me, but I don't think it's so bad that it has to be erased. I think sometimes people get a little bit too obsessed with these type of things, for example, and kind of throw away, and again, I think this is a little rare, though I have seen some people say weird shit like this, where they throw away the idea of getting a real relationship, and they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to stick to my anime waifus and shit. I think that's completely fucking stupid when people say stuff like that. It's like, why would you do that, man? It's not real. Somebody wrote this dialogue. You know, it's like the perfect cutesy shit that you're going to read. And just because you think you can't get that in real life, you're going to settle for some drawing on a screen. That's strange to me. I will say that, okay? I mean, I would encourage everybody, no matter who they are, to not give up and regulate themselves to that kind of life because it doesn't sound very happy. Now, a lot of people have themselves convinced that they're completely happy in their situation. But I don't think that means you can't put the encouragement out there. Obviously, I don't have any power. I'm not an authority figure. I can't impose my lifestyle as though people like to accuse you of when you share an opinion. But if your lifestyle is so weak that it is shattered by an opposing opinion, maybe you need to, look into why that is. Why are you insecure? Why aren't you more secure in what you say you believe? Then Sony censored butts in DMC5 on the PS4. Yep, I saw that too. That was so stupid. Again, it's not a children's game. So what adult can't handle seeing that? All right. That's pretty much, let's see. We're at about an hour and 45 minutes. And I think that's usually a pretty good time. What's the RPG with designs from Senran Kagura artist? It's on Steam. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know about that one. Yeah, I mean, Sham, I think that there is something to that. The problem is that it gets into, thought crime territory. And you can't really, you can't punish someone unless they've committed a crime. I would obviously, ideally love it if you could prevent that from happening just from the outset. But it's one of those situations where it's really difficult to come up with a good solution. That's something that doesn't appeal to me at all. I think that there's a lot of weird shit out there when it comes to the whole hentai stuff. And I don't personally see any value in it. I think it's just schlock, really. It's easy and it appeals to, you know, those primal urges, I guess. Well, I guess I would say, where do you draw the line? How do you set that standard in a way that is not, that allows for, you know, creative integrity to still exist? Because it's very easy, you know, it's very easy to move the bar and get that ban hammer rolling. I think we're already seeing that. That's my issue. It's like, we're not working on the extreme stuff. We're working on the fictional stuff that is arguably, like, of age. I agree with you on that. I do agree with you. I don't think it's healthy at all. You know, obviously, here's the thing. This is another one of those situations. It's like when you talk bad about social media. Nobody ever wants to accept that there are consequences to things that you enjoy. There are bad aspects to things that you enjoy. Just because someone loves social media doesn't mean that it doesn't have, you know, negative impacts on society. And just because somebody likes their sexual images, it doesn't mean that it has doesn't have negative impacts, rather. But here's the weird part. It's mostly the social justice people that are getting these things banned, right? And those are usually the same people that will defend the real-life idiots on Twitter that label themselves as maps. Like, they're right out in the open admitting that that's what they're into, and they're protected. But then you got a video game where they just perceive someone to be not of age, which is completely inaccurate in this case, and then it's banned. You know, that's the part where I can't find the logic in it. You're getting rid of the fictional, which does not qualify as CP, and then allowing for the actual people that have those feelings and are okay with that stuff and have those interests and urges. You're allowing them to share their opinions and talk openly about their shit. Well, I get when you say worse, like worse than what? Worse than the maps? Because I don't know if that one. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get behind that one. I mean, it's bad. It's bad in different ways. For me personally, I don't like overly sexual imagery in the sense of where it's really, really blatant. Like I guess the more vulgar stuff, right? But things like this, like the beach chicks, that's fine. I don't see a problem with that. I can go to the beach and see real people dressed that way. You know what I mean? That's not a big deal. Or like, you know, you watch an anime and there's some sexualized humor and not even necessarily any nudity or anything. That's, you know, if it's done in a particular way, I can see the humor in it. Okay, so what you're saying is that with drawings, you have more freedom in the sense that fantasy allows for less limitations. Okay, I kind of get you then. Yeah. But I do think that these people that are coming after video games have weird priorities. They should be focusing on the people that are actually out there admitting openly on social media that they have these proclivities. That to me would be more worrying than a video game where somebody is trying to perceive characters a certain way. I guess I'm big on creative freedoms simply because it seems that the way that people try to ban things is really warped. They don't have their priorities set. They don't go for the most extreme thing. They go for something like this. And I'm just left there dumbfounded as to how you can look at this and then think it's worse than actual people that openly admit to being interested in kids. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this evening. I've had a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I will try to, do more streams. I know I say that over and over again, but we'll see. We'll see what I can come up with. I kind of wanted to try to do more game streams, but I need to find something I want to play consistently from beginning to end. All right, so it was good talking to you guys. I will try to see you before too long. Thank you, everybody, and as always, thank you for the donations. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Sorry, Nora. I will be back.